Every morning I put my smile on like an old sweater. Nobody noticed, didn't fit anymore. I answered, I'm okay. So many times the words forgot how to tell the truth. I became very good at disappearing without leaving. I laughed at the right moments, I nodded at the right words. No one ever asked why my eyes always look tired. I learned to cry without making a sound, without shaking, without breaking, where anyone could see. My tears fell so quietly, even the floor forgot they were there. I became a secret to myself. The moon knows my real voice. She listens when everyone sleeps. She has watched every tear slide across the same pillow, night after night, without asking why. I learned to cry like falling snow, slow, weightless, invisible. I carry an ocean inside my chest, while everyone only saw the shore. Maybe the saddest hearts aren't the loud ones. Maybe they're the ones who apologize for crying when nobody even noticed. If tomorrow looks like today, I'll still open the window, I'll still watch the rain, I'll still hope someone somewhere feels the same lonely silence. Until then, I'll leave a little light inside this song, in case someone else needs somewhere safe to cry. If you never heard me cry, it wasn't because I wasn't hurting. I just didn't want to become someone else's sadness. Everyone was laughing in the room before. I was standing in the hallway, smiling like I belonged. Then I walked away, quietly closed the door, and finally let myself fall apart. Nobody followed, nobody noticed, nobody asked where I went. Maybe I became too good at disappearing. Maybe my silence started looking like peace. I was crying in the next room while everyone thought I was okay. I was holding 1,000 broken pieces, trying not to let them fall their way. Nobody heard the sound of my heart breaking slowly. Nobody knew how much I carried every day. I remember looking in the mirror, trying to find the girl I used to be, the one who laughed without thinking, the one who dreamed without fear. I wonder if she still lives somewhere inside of me. The night doesn't ask questions, the rain doesn't need answers, the pillow never tells me I'm too much. So I come here every evening to the only place where I can be honest. I was crying in the next room, but nobody opened the door. Not because they didn't care, maybe they just didn't know there was a war inside someone they loved. Some pain doesn't make noise, some hearts don't break loudly, some people are drowning while standing right beside you. Tonight I will open the door myself, not for someone to save me, just to let a little light come in. I am tired, but I am here. I am hurting, but I remain. And maybe that is enough for tonight. I was crying. I was crying. I learned how to hide everything I feel. If someone asked, I always said I'm alright, then cried instead. Behind my bedroom door, where nobody could see, the loudest part of me was quiet as could be. The mirror knows my face better than anyone. It watched the tears after everyone was gone. I covered every bruise that never touched my skin. Some hearts break so softly, no one hears them giving in. Nobody heard me cry, not even the night. I whispered into my pillow until morning light. The tears kept falling without making a sound. It's strange how a broken heart can break without being found. Nobody heard me cry. Maybe that's why it hurt so long. Silence became the only place that knew my song. There were nights I held my own hand, pretending someone would understand. I counted every breath just to calm the storm, trying to convince myself tomorrow would be warm. The moon stayed awake when I couldn't sleep, keeping all the promises that people couldn't keep. Nobody heard me cry. The walls never spoke, they simply held every word. I couldn't choke. I folded every memory like letters never read. I carried every goodbye inside my chest instead. If pain had a color, it would be the blue. Just before sunrise, when the world is still asleep. If loneliness had a voice, it would sound like mine, barely louder than breathing. Nobody heard me cry, but maybe that's alright. The stars were listening every single night. The rain kept every secret, the wind carried every tear, and somewhere in the silence, love stayed near. One day, someone may hear the smile behind my voice. Until then, I'll sing very softly to the dark. Nobody heard me cry. Nobody heard me cry. cried instead behind my bedroom door, where nobody could see. The loudest part of me was quiet as could be. The mirror knows my face better than anyone. It watched the tears after everyone was gone. I covered every bruise that never touched my skin. Some hearts break so softly, no one hears them giving in. Nobody heard me cry, not even the night. I whispered into my pillow until morning light. The tears kept falling without making a sound. It's strange how a broken heart can break without being found. Nobody heard me cry, maybe that's why it hurt so long. Silence became the only place that knew my song. There were nights I held my own hand, pretending someone would understand. I counted every breath just to calm the storm, trying to convince myself tomorrow. I kept one candle burning in the window every night, like maybe you were somewhere trying to find your way back home tonight. I protected all your memories like they were made of gold. I held on to a story that was already growing old. I listened for your footsteps through the silence and the rain. I whispered all your promises so I could feel them again. But candles lose their fire when they burn for someone else, and hearts become so empty when they forget themselves. I was waiting for your return while I was leaving myself behind. This is the last candle in the window, the last light I leave for you, the last piece of my heart that still believed you were true. Tonight I let it disappear. I let the darkness come, because I don't need to keep shining for someone who never comes. The house is still lonely, the night is still long, but somewhere in the silence I'm learning my own song. This is the last candle in the window, and the first sunrise I've known. I remember all the evenings when I held back my tears, when I smiled through the sadness for all those wasted years. I became your safe place when your world fell apart, but you never saw the cracks growing inside my heart. I carried every secret you were afraid to face. I carried every shadow you refused to erase. I thought love meant forgiveness, very endless night. You were never meant to be a lighthouse for someone avoiding the light. You were never meant to freeze there, waiting beside the sea. You were always meant to discover the shore where you could be free. This is the last candle in the window. The flame is fading slow, not because my heart stopped loving, but because I learned to let go. The house still holds our memories, the walls still know your name, but the woman standing in the doorway will never be the same. You were my deepest winter, my longest night of blue, but the last candle in the window was the light that led me back to me too. I kept the light on for you until I realized I was the one who needed to come home. It's almost 4. The neighborhood has gone quiet. The television next door stopped hours ago. The only sound now is the rain and my breathing. I walk to the kitchen, pour a glass of water. I drink half, leave breakfast tomorrow morning. I wonder why it's there, like I always do. I think I'm the last one awake tonight, the last light in this street, the last heart still trying to become quiet enough to sleep. If someone looked through my window, they'd only see a lamp. They'd never know how much I'm carrying. I sit on the floor against the bed, not because it's comfortable, because somehow it feels closer to the earth, like maybe it can hold some of this weight. My phone lights up just a weather alert, rain until morning. I smile a little, at least something else couldn't sleep either. There are tears I never cry in the daytime. They belong to this hour when no one needs anything from me, when I don't have to answer. I'm okay. The birds will start singing soon. They don't know how long this night has been. Maybe that's beautiful. Morning never asks what yesterday felt like. It simply arrives. When the sun finds this room, I'll open the curtains, I'll water the little plant on the windowsill. I'll make another cup of coffee. I'll keep trying, not because I'm certain tomorrow will be easier, because somewhere deep inside, a tiny part of me still believes it might. If you're awake right now, looking out your window, I hope you know someone else made it through this night with you. There is a broken clock in your room, still hanging on the wall. You stop counting all the moments right before you lost it all. I used to watch those hands move, waiting for the day when you would finally notice I was fading away. I measured all my heartbeats by the times you weren't there. I measured all my sadness by the weight of the air. I thought if I waited longer, if I loved a little more, pieces you left scattered on the floor. But some clocks stop moving because time already knows. The broken clock in your room knows the truth I couldn't see. I was spending all my seconds trying to make you choose me. I gave you all my mornings, I gave you all my nights, I gave you every sunrise while losing my own life. Now the hands have stopped turning and I'm finally letting go, because some things aren't meant to be fixed, some things are meant to close. That broken clock in your room stopped waiting before I did. I remember all the evenings when the world was asleep, when I held on to your memory because it was all I could keep. I played back every sentence, every moment, every sign, trying to find the exact place where your heart left mine. I carried your excuses like they were my own mistakes. I carried every promise that you were too afraid to make. I became your quiet shelter when your world fell apart, but nobody saw the damage inside my tired heart. That broken clock in your room is a picture of our past, a reminder that forever was never built to last. I don't need another answer, I don't need another reason why. Some goodbyes happen slowly before the final goodbye. I forgive the girl who waited by that old bedroom door, who believed a little longer would bring back something more. She wasn't weak for loving, she wasn't wrong to care. She was just holding on to someone who wasn't really there. That broken clock in your room, broken clock, doesn't hurt me anymore, doesn't hurt me anymore. I don't count the lonely hours like I did before. The walls still hold your memories, the rain still knows your name, but I don't live inside the moment where you walked away. You were my deepest winter, my longest night of blue, but the time I lost while loving you brought me back to something true. I thought I was waiting for time to change, but time was waiting for me to finally leave. There is an empty chair by the window where you used to sit with me, where we talked about forever and who we thought we'd be. I still remember your laughter, like a song inside these walls. I still remember holding you before the distance came at all. But chairs don't keep a promise, and walls don't stop goodbye. A house can hold a memory, while a heart learns how to survive. I spent so many evenings looking toward that empty space, waiting for a person who had already walked away. I was keeping a place for you, while forgetting I belonged here too. That empty chair by the window doesn't hurt me anymore. It reminds me of the nights I was begging for a door. I don't need you sitting beside me to know that I am whole. I don't need another person's hands to hold my broken soul. The rain still falls outside, the room is still in blue, but the empty chair by the window no longer belongs to you. I remember all the midnight hours when sleep refused my eyes, when I counted every reason why I couldn't say goodbye. I carried your disappointment like a shadow on my skin. I kept forgiving everything before you apologized again. I became your quiet shelter when your world was full of storms, but nobody held me close when mine was torn. I gave you all my patience, I gave you all my life. I became a fading candle trying to survive the night. That empty chair by the window now faces the morning sun. The girl who waited forever finally knows she won. Not because you lost me, not because you came undone, but because I found the person I was before you came along. Maybe we were only chapters in a book we couldn't save. Maybe some loves teach us lessons through the hearts they break. I don't hate the memories, I don't wish them away. They were part of my journey, but they don't own today. That empty chair by the window still sits where it has been, but now it holds the sunlight and the woman I became again. The scars still tell a story, the tears still know my name, but I don't live inside the ashes of a once beautiful flame. You were my deepest winter, my longest night of blue, but the empty chair by the window was where I finally found me too. I thought the empty chair meant you were gone, but I finally understood. It was a space come back to myself. I left the key on the table, right beside your old goodbye. A little piece of metal for a place where I used to hide. I spent so many seasons trying to make that house a home, but a heart cannot keep living where it feels alone. I painted over memories, I repaired every crack, I carried all the damage and never asked for it back. I held on to the doorway like it was where I belong, but sometimes staying somewhere is how you stay gone. I wasn't leaving you behind, I was finally finding me. I left the key on the table and I walked into the rain. I stopped begging for love, it only brought me pain. I don't need another promise, I don't need another sign, I don't need to keep unlocking a door that wasn't mine. The house can keep our memories, the walls can keep our truth, but the life outside that doorway is where I found something new. I remember all the midnight hours when I stared into the dark, trying to find a reason to repair my broken heart. I counted every sacrifice, every tear I never showed, every time I carried you while my own heart turned cold. I became your understanding when you couldn't understand. I became your second chance. Again and again, I was holding up the ceiling while the foundation broke. I was drowning in the silence of every word you never spoke. I left the key on the table, but I took my soul with me. The girl who lived inside that house finally learned to breathe. I don't hate what we were, I don't erase the past, but I know a love worth keeping should never hurt like that. To the girl who kept returning to the same familiar pain, a locked door is not a home, and a storm is not your name. You don't have to keep knocking when nobody lets you in. Sometimes the greatest goodbye is where your life begins. I left the key on the table when the morning touched the sky. I left behind the questions, I left behind the why. The memories still whisper, the old house still remains, but I don't belong to yesterday or the person I became. You were my deepest yourself. I wrote your name 1,000 times, but never sent the words. I wrote about the lonely nights and all the things that hurt. I wrote about the mornings when I forgot how to smile. I wrote about the little girl who disappeared for a while. I wanted you to understand the damage you couldn't see, how I was standing next to you, but losing pieces of me. I wrote every apology that I deserve from you. I wrote every broken promise I spent years holding on to. Some words are not meant to reach someone else. Some words are meant to set you free. This is the last letter I never said, the goodbye I kept inside, the tears I never showed you, the pain I tried to hide. Oh, I don't need you to read it. I don't need you to know. I don't need you to know. I don't need your forgiveness to finally let you go. The ink is slowly fading, the paper's turning old, but the heart that wrote these words is finally coming home. I remember all the midnight hours with your name on my phone, waiting for a message that would tell me I wasn't alone. I searched through old conversations, looking for a sign, trying to find the exact moment when you stopped being mine. I carried every silence like a sentence I deserved. I carried every heartbreak like a lesson I had earned. I became smaller and smaller, trying to fit inside your world until I couldn't recognize the person I was before. This is the last letter I never said, and now I close the page. I release the girl who waited inside that empty cage. The love was real between us, the memories were true, but I cannot keep losing myself, trying to keep you to the heart that wrote forever for someone who walked away. Your love was not a mistake, your kindness was not wasted. You were not too difficult, you were not too much to hold. You were just giving your warmth to someone Some doors have to close before we see the sunrise. You were my deepest winter, my longest night of blue. But the last letter I never sent was the first truth I wrote for me too. I spent years writing to you, but the words were always meant for the person I was trying to become. I learned how to hide the storm inside me. I learned how to smile when my heart was tired. People saw the sunshine, nobody saw the rain. I kept my tears behind my eyes. I kept my fears behind my words. Every "I'm okay" was a little lie I told, so nobody would worry. These are the tears I never showed the world, the ones that fell when everyone was asleep, the ones I carry like a secret, the ones that only the darkness got to keep. Sometimes I sit quietly and wonder when I became someone who apologizes for feeling, someone who says sorry for needing a little love. The room doesn't judge me, the rain doesn't ask why, the night doesn't tell me to be stronger, it just stays beside me until I can breathe again. These are the tears I never showed the world, the silent rivers running through my soul. Nobody knew how many nights I was fighting to feel whole. Maybe the broken pieces are not something to hide. Maybe they are proof that I survived every moment that tried to take me away. Tonight I won't hide from my own heart. I won't pretend the pain isn't there. I'll let the tears fall gently. I'll let the silence deserves a little care. The world never saw those tears, but they were real, and so was I, still here, still breathing, still becoming. It's almost morning, but I haven't slept. The birds haven't started singing. The whole town still believes I'm dreaming. Only this room knows I've been awake for hours. There's a sweater across the chair, still carrying yesterday. I wrap it around my shoulders, not because I'm cold, because I miss being held. Before the sun knows I cried again, before the streets wake up, before the smiles return, I let every hidden tear find its way into the quiet, where nobody needs me to be okay. I hear a train far away. I wonder where it's going. I wonder if someone looking out another window feels like I do, waiting for a reason to believe. Morning changes anything. The rain slows down, the silence gets softer. I place my hand over my heart just to make sure it's still trying. Even when I'm tired, it keeps choosing another beat. Before the sun knows how heavy this night became, I'll dry my face, open the curtains, and quietly become the version of me everyone expects. But for these few moments, I don't have to pretend. Maybe the strongest hearts are not the loudest ones. Maybe strength looks like getting out of bed when yesterday never really ended. Maybe hope begins as something small enough to whisper. When the first bird starts to sing, I'll close my eyes, not to escape, just to rest. If sleep finds me for even a little while, I'll call that a gentle gift. And if tomorrow feels exactly like today, I'll still leave the window It's almost morning, but I haven't slept. The birds haven't started singing. The whole town still believes I'm dreaming. Only this room knows I've been awake for hours. There's a sweater across the chair, still carrying yesterday. I wrap it around my shoulders, not because I'm cold, because I miss being held. Before the sun knows, I cried again. Before the streets wake up, before the smiles return, I let every hidden tear find its way into the quiet where nobody needs me to be okay. I hear a train far away. I wonder where it's going. I wonder if someone looking out another window feels like I do, waiting for a reason to believe morning changes anything. The rain slows down, the silence gets softer. I place my hand over my heart just to make sure it's still trying. Even when I'm tired, it keeps choosing another beat. Before the sun knows, I cried again. Before the streets wake up, before the smiles return, I let every hidden tear find its way into the quiet where nobody needs me to be okay. I hear a train far away. I wonder where it's going. I wonder if someone looking out another window feels like I do, waiting for a reason to believe morning changes anything. The rain slows down, the silence gets softer. I place my hand over my heart just I make the bed, I wash the dishes, I answer messages. I smile when people smile. I do everything the way I'm supposed to. No one knows. I'm counting the hours until I can be alone. The lights go out, the room gets quiet, my breathing changes. The mask falls first, then the smile, then the silence starts crying before I do. I don't cry until the lights go out, until the world stops looking at me. I hold it all day, I let it go. After nobody ever fixes. Sometimes I hug my pillow just to remember what comfort might feel like. Sometimes I whisper my own name, because it's been a long time since anyone said it gently. The rain never tells me to be stronger. The moon never asks why I'm sad. They just stay quiet beside me until the morning finds us both. If my heart had a sound, it wouldn't scream, it would be a chair in an empty room, waiting for someone who doesn't know they're missed. I don't cry because I'm weak. I cry because my heart has been carrying too much for too long. Maybe tomorrow I'll smile again. Maybe tomorrow I'll laugh like nothing happened. But tonight I'll let the tears tell the truth I couldn't. If you ever feel like you're the only one awake, listen carefully. Somewhere another heart is quietly trying to make it through the same night. The room still smells like yesterday. A book still open on the bed. I never finished the last page. My mind was somewhere else again. I leave the window open just enough to hear the rain. It reminds me the world keeps moving, even when my heart doesn't. I don't cry to be noticed, I cry because the tears have nowhere else to go. The rain never tells me to stop, it simply falls beside me, so I don't feel like the only one. There's a little bird outside my window every morning. It sings, I wonder if it ever wakes up, feeling as tired as I do. Still, it sings. Fold the blanket, wash the cup, water the plant, open the curtain. Small things, quiet things. Sometimes that's how I survive. No one knows how many nights I've whispered it's okay to myself. No one hears the promises I make just to reach morning. One more sunrise, one more breath, one more chance to begin again. Healing didn't arrive like sunshine. It arrived like morning fog, slowly, softly, almost unnoticed, until one day I realized I wasn't carrying quite as much as before. If tonight feels too long, I'll let the rain keep watch. If tomorrow feels too heavy, I'll carry only tomorrow, not next week, not forever. Just one quiet day, one quiet heart, one quiet hope. Never asked why I was crying. Maybe that's why I always open the window. There is moonlight on my broken floor, where I cried your name before, where I picked up all the pieces that you left behind the door. I remember every promise, every word you couldn't keep. Every night I held the silence while you were already asleep. I was building something beautiful with hands that were so tired, trying to keep alive a love that had already expired. I painted over all the cracks so nobody would see, but the hardest thing to hide was what was happening to me. I was afraid of losing you, but I was already gone. Now there's moonlight on my broken floor, and I can finally see all the pieces I was searching for. Were pieces left of me. I don't need to chase your shadow, I don't need to hear your voice, I don't need to keep pretending is still on, but somewhere in the silence I found my own song. There's moonlight on my broken floor, and it shines for me. I remember all the midnight hours when sleep refused to stay, when I talked to old memories just to make it through the day. I kept your picture hidden like a secret in my heart, like if I stopped remembering we would completely fall apart. But love is not a photograph frozen in a frame. Love is not a person who only leaves you pain. I gave you all my patience, I gave you all my grace, I gave you every version of myself I tried to save. Now there's moonlight on my broken floor, and the darkness feels less cold. The girl who thought she needed you is learning to be whole. I still remember laughter, I still remember rain, but memories are just memories. They don't have to be changed. To the heart that kept forgiving every wound and every scar, you were never asking too much, you were just asking the wrong heart. You were never hard to love, you were never not enough. You were just holding on to someone who couldn't hold you back. Now there's moonlight on my broken floor, and morning's coming near. The woman standing in the doorway is no longer living in fear. The house still knows our story, the walls still know your name, but I don't belong to yesterday, I don't belong to pain. You were my deepest winter, my longest night of blue, but the moonlight on my broken floor led me back to who I knew. I thought the broken pieces were proof that I was lost, but they were only stars waiting to be found. Nobody sees the quiet parts of me, the moments after everyone leaves. The smile disappears, the room gets darker, and I finally stop pretending I'm okay. I know the words people wanna hear. I'm fine, I'm good, don't worry about me. I say them so easily now, like they belong to someone else. Nobody sees the quiet parts, the tears behind the eyes, the little pieces I pick up every night. Nobody sees how hard I try, how many times I almost give up, then breathe and try again. I wash the dishes, fold the clothes, make the bed, do everything a person does when life feels normal. But sometimes normal feels like the hardest thing. There is a song I never play because it reminds me of a version of myself. I lost a softer girl, a happier girl, a girl who didn't know how heavy silence could become. And nobody sees the quiet parts, the nights I talk to the ceiling, the mornings I wake up already tired, the tears I hide before the sun can find them. Maybe I don't need everyone to understand. Maybe I only need to stop hiding from myself. Maybe the first person who needs my kindness is me. Tonight I'll sit with my sadness, I won't fight it, I won't run, I'll let it breathe, I'll let it rest. I'll remind my heart it has survived every difficult night before this one. Nobody saw how much it hurt, but I know I was there. I stayed, and that means something. I saw her in the mirror, the girl I used to know, the one who laughed so freely before she learned to let go. She had dreams inside her eyes, she had fire in her soul, before she started breaking just to keep somebody whole. I watched her disappear slowly, one piece at a time, trading all her colors for someone else's sky. She stopped asking questions, she stopped saying what she felt. She became a stranger trying to save someone else. I thought I lost her forever, but she was waiting underneath the pain. She's the ghost of the girl I was, the heart I left behind, the voice that kept on calling me through every lonely night. I spent years chasing is alive again. I remember all the midnight hours when I cried without a sound, when I smiled for everyone while my world was falling down. I carried your emotions like they were mine to bear. I carried all your brokenness because I thought you cared. I became your safe place when you had nowhere to hide. But when my heart was drowning, you were never by my side. I gave you all my mornings, I gave you all my nights. I forgot I was a person while trying to be your light. She's the ghost of the girl I was, and she's not afraid anymore. She doesn't wait beside the window for someone at the door. She doesn't need your apology, she doesn't need your proof. She knows the love she gave away was always something true. To the girl who disappeared inside somebody else's storm, you were never weak for loving, you were never wrong. You were not too much to handle, you were not too hard to keep. You were just giving your ocean to someone afraid of the deep. She's the ghost of the girl I was, now walking in the sun. The heart that almost vanished is becoming someone new again. The scars are still a story, the tears are still a part, but the girl I thought I lost forever was living in my heart. You were my deepest winter, my longest night of blue, but the ghost of the girl I was the strongest part of me too. I spent so long looking for you, I forgot the person I needed was me. I built a house for your ghost with the pieces of my heart. I painted every memory before we fell apart. I left the lights on every night, I kept the doorway clear. I told myself you needed time, I told myself you'd appear. Your picture on the table, your name inside the walls, 1,000 little reminders of a love that couldn't call. I was living with the shadow, I was sleeping with the past, trying to hold a moment that was never meant to last. I spent so long protecting your memory, I forgot to protect myself. This is the house I built for your ghost, a place where I lost my way. The room's full of promises that slowly turned to gray. I carried your silence like a prayer every night. I carried your darkness until I lost my own life. But ghosts don't need a home, and memories don't need a key. So tonight I opened every window and let the air come back to me. This is the house I built for your ghost, but it's finally becoming mine. I remember all the mornings when I woke up feeling gone, when I couldn't recognize myself before the day moved on. I became your understanding, I became your place to hide, but nobody saw the emptiness growing deep inside. I learned every reason why you couldn't stay. I forgave every distance, I explained every mistake. But love should not feel like drowning while pretending you can swim. Love should not require losing yourself just to keep someone in. This is the house I built for your ghost, and I'm taking back the keys. The girl who lived inside your memories is finally learning to breathe. The walls still hold the echoes, the floors still know your name, but they don't have the power to make me feel the same. I forgive the heart that waited, I forgive the nights it cried, I forgive the hands that held on when everything had died. She was only trying to love the only way she knew. She didn't know that leaving could be a way to choose. This is the house I built for your ghost. Now sunlight fills the room, the flowers by the window are finally starting to bloom. The past can't keep its memories, the rain can't keep its tears. I don't have to live forever inside those lonely years. You were my deepest heartbreak, my longest night of blue. But the home I was searching for was always inside me too. I built a home for your ghost until I realized I was the one who needed somewhere to live. I carried your empty hands like they were full of love. I held on to every promise you were never sure of. I searched inside your silence for words you couldn't say. I kept building bridges while you walked away. I carried all your sadness, I carried all your fear, I carried every moment choosing to, but you cannot fill a heart that refuses to hold you. This is the weight of your empty hands, the love I couldn't keep, the promises you gave me, then buried underneath. I held on to the nothing, because nothing felt like you. I protected all the memories, even when they weren't true. But my shoulders are getting lighter, my heart is learning to stand. I finally understand tonight. I was holding empty hands. I remember all the midnight hours when the world was asleep, when I whispered to the ceiling because nobody listened to me. I counted all the reasons why I should still remain. I confused surviving with loving, and silence with your name. I became your safe harbor when your oceans became wild. I became the one who saved you, like a lost and frightened child. But when my sky started falling, when my world turned gray and cold, you were nowhere near the doorway. You were nowhere to hold. This is the weight of your empty hands, and I'm putting it down. The girl who kept on waiting is finally leaving town. I don't need your explanation, I don't need your regret, I don't need another memory to remember what I felt. Maybe you were not a villain, maybe I was not to blame. Maybe we were two broken people trying to outrun the same pain. But love is not a prison, and hearts are not a place where someone takes your everything, then leaves without a trace. This is the weight of your empty hands, now falling to the ground. The silence that once broke me is the peace I finally found. The rain still hits the window, the night still turns to dawn, but the woman who was waiting has finally moved on. You were my deepest winter, my longest night of blue, but the weight of your empty hands taught me how to hold me too. I thought I was holding on to the space where you used to be. I was an ocean for your storms, a place where you could fall. I carried every wave you brought, I carried it all. I held your broken pieces when your world came undone. I gave you all my sunlight, I gave you all my calm. But oceans have a breaking point, even oceans need to breathe. Even the strongest waters need somewhere to be free. I spent my whole life moving around the pain you made, until I forgot the ocean was never meant to be a grave. I wasn't drowning because I couldn't swim, I was drowning because I carried too much. Now the ocean learned to rest after years of endless waves, after giving everything away, trying to be someone else's save. I don't carry your storms anymore, I don't wear your rain like skin. I don't apologize for surviving, I don't apologize for healing. The tide is finally changing, the shore is calling me home. The ocean that was broken is learning to be whole. To be whole. I remember all the midnight hours when the world was asleep, when I held on to your memory because it was all I could keep. I searched for your forgiveness inside a heart gone cold. I tried to fix the ending of a story already told. I became your shelter when you had nowhere to hide. But when my sky was falling, you weren't standing by my side. I gave you all my patience, I gave you all my years, I gave you every reason why you gave me every fear. Now the ocean learned to rest, the waves don't feel the same, the water still remembers, but it no longer feels the pain. I can walk beside the shoreline without searching for your face. I can hear the sound of freedom in the empty space. To the girl who was a harbor for someone else's war, you don't have to keep bleeding to prove that you love more. You don't have to be the ocean for someone afraid to swim. You deserve a love that holds you the way you held them. Now the ocean learned to rest underneath the different sky. The moon still knows my secrets, but it doesn't ask me why. The scars are still like footprints from the places I have been. But the waves that once destroyed me are the waves that carried me in. You were my deepest storm, my longest night of blue. But the ocean that survived you finally belongs to me too. Spent so long being your ocean, I forgot I was allowed to find my own shore. Everyone is sleeping, the hallway is dark. The old clock keeps counting. Every second I'm awake, I pull the blanket closer, not because I'm cold, because I miss feeling safe. My phone lights up, it's only the weather. No messages, no missed calls. Just another night, learning how quiet a room can be. I'm the quietest girl in the house. I cry so softly, even my own heartbeat sounds louder. The rain knows my secret, the moon knows my name. The whole world keeps dreaming while I stay awake. There's a picture on my shelf. I'm smiling in that one. Sometimes I look at it, trying to remember what that day felt like. I wonder if she knew there would be nights like this. The kettle sings for just a moment. I pour hot tea into my favorite cup. I wrap both hands around it, pretending warm hands can warm a tired heart. I'm the quietest girl in the house. I keep every tear behind a gentle smile. I don't want to wake anyone, so I let the pillow listen instead. Maybe someone else is sitting by another window, holding another cup of tea, wondering if tomorrow will feel a little easier. I hope it does for both of us. The sky will slowly feels too heavy. You don't have to carry it all at once. Just breathe. The morning will find us. I spent my whole life running toward a place I couldn't reach, following your horizon like a promise you would keep. I was a river moving through every storm you made, carrying all your broken pieces, carrying all your rain. I carved my way through mountains just to find your shore, but every time I reached you, you were already gone before. I thought love meant forever. I thought love meant holding on. I never knew a river could get tired of flowing on. Some journeys end not because we failed, but because we finally learned. I am the river that stopped chasing the sea, the heart that finally chose to be free. I don't need your ocean to prove I belong. I don't need your waves to carry me on. I spent years searching for a place inside you, but I found a whole world inside myself too. I am the river that stopped chasing the sea and finally came home to me. I remember all the midnight hours when I stared into the dark, trying to find the missing pieces of my exhausted heart. I memorized your silence, I translated every pain, I turned your broken promises into reasons to remain. I became your shelter when your sky began to fall, but when my own world shattered, you weren't there at all. I gave you all my sunlight, I gave you all my spring. I forgot that even rivers need somewhere safe to breathe. I am the river that stopped chasing the sea, no longer lost, no longer weak. The current keeps moving, but it moves for me. The water remembers, but it doesn't bleed. I can carry the memories without carrying the grief, to the heart that kept on running for someone standing still. You don't have to empty yourself to prove that you love them still. You don't have to lose your direction to follow someone else's road. Sometimes the bravest journey is the one where you let go. I am the river that stopped chasing the sea under a different sky. The girl who was drowning is learning how to fly. The skies are like stones finally found something true. I spent so long trying to reach you. I forgot I was already moving toward myself. I spent so many years standing underneath your sky, waiting for the weather to change, waiting for you to try. I learned the sound of thunder before I learned the sound of peace. I learned how to hold my breath when love became a storm inside of me. I carried all your darkness like a coat against the cold. I protected all your secrets while my own story grew old. I kept looking for the sunlight inside your clouds of gray, but some storms are not meant to follow. Some storms are meant to fade away. I thought leaving the storm and losing everything, but I found the sky was always mine. Look at the sky after your storm. Look how the colors return. Look at the hearts you left behind, still finding ways to burn. I don't need your thunder, I don't need your rain, I don't need to hurt myself to prove I loved you again. The clouds are moving slowly, the night is turning blue. The sky after your storm is where I finally found the truth. I remember all the midnight hours when sleep wouldn't come around, when I searched through empty silence for a love that couldn't be found. I replayed every conversation, every moment, every scar, trying to understand how someone could feel so close yet so far. I became your safe harbor when your waves were running wild. I became your place of comfort when you needed someone to smile. But when my world started shaking, when my own heart needed care, I looked around the empty room and you were never there. Look at the sky after your storm, it doesn't look the same. The girl who cried beneath your clouds is standing in the rain. She doesn't fear the lightning, she doesn't fear the night, because she learned the darkest roads can still lead to the light. To the girl who blamed herself for someone else's weather, you were never meant to carry storms, you were meant to grow through better. You were never just a shelter for somebody else's pain. You were always the horizon waiting after the rain. Look at the sky after your storm, the morning has arrived. The heart that almost disappeared is learning was the place I came back to. I thought I was waiting for the storm,